so you can ride all day with confidence. Order yours at gusset.com. Diamond Gusset jeans got it. Others don't.
In the near future.
When you realize how fake it all is, the football, the basketball.
Alert. Security alert. This is Homeland Security. Analysis. InfoWars building independent media operation.
You let the worst people get control and tell us that we are the ones responsible.
Prime directive. Discredit Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
A popular conspiracy theory talk show called InfoWars.
Alex Jones is now in an Austin jail.
These people are assaulting us.
Targeting of patriots engaged.
They are never going to stop. They're never going to deviate from their program until we stop them.
Block free iPhone app at Infowars.com. Block free podcast and video feed. Imperative. Destroy Prison Planet TV.
You gotta set your eye on the enemy, not worry about what propaganda they put out. Intellectually, it's begun. You can feel it.
This is Alex Jones for InfoWarsLife.com. The latest in preparedness is now here. An electrically stabilized colloidal silver solution that can be added to both your home cabinet and preparedness pack alike. Concentrated to 30 parts per million in what has been dubbed the survival silver solution. The new InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver is the answer for you and your family. And it's entirely free of toxic artificial additives that are loaded into many products. The InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Silver is so powerful that it is concentrated into a 2-ounce bottle and is not recommended for extended continual use. This is not a low-grade formula. We are working with one of the top laboratory manufacturers in the United States to bring you the best form of colloidal silver using electrical processes within a base of deionized water. For your preparedness storage or your home kitchen, purchase your bottle of InfoWarsLife.com Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver today and find other amazing supplements at InfoWarsLife.com.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
We come to you from the front lines of the info war. You know, I'll tell you the big angles here, Paul Watson. We need to do articles reminding people that scientists say Ebola is now airborne off that previous research from 2 years ago. That's a story we should get out there so people take this more serious. We need to also expand on the fact that it's unprecedented to bring infected, communicable vectors into your country. And why are they in university hospitals? I mean, something's going on here, Paul. My gut tells me they want to have plausible deniability for an Ebola outbreak in the U.S. And government, even in the third world, if a plane crashes and it's the government's fault, the Minister of Transportation gets fired, gets sacked. If you mess up in Katrina, you get fired. Well, no, now you get double the funding at FEMA for emergencies. The precedent's been set. You let 9/11 happen, and anti-terrorism forces get about 15 times the funding, roughly. So I guess if Ebola breaks out, government will get more power. All these companies will get more money for biological weapons research. And so I guess I've just answered my question. I mean, government used to think about getting the blame for things or not wanting to be embarrassed. Since when does Obama, he's who the buck stops with, or where does it stop, Paul? Centers for Disease Control, while our borders are wide open. And Geraldo Rivera, who's been on this show, I'm not even attacking him, comes out and says Matt Drudge is basically a racist because he's reporting mainstream news about concerns of Ebola coming across the southern border. When we know Africans are flying into Mexico and walking right across. They've got signs in Chinese and African now down on the border. I mean, this is crazy town, Paul Watson. And I'm hitting different angles of this. And then the creepiness factor. I want your take on this. Obama signs that executive order last Tuesday, now I guess 6 days ago, to, if anybody has a cough or a sniffle, it says respiratory illness or the appearance of it, you can be locked up and disappeared under the executive order 13,295. So what do you make of that, Paul Watson? Where do you think all this is going? Because undoubtedly, like you said, they're not hyping it like other made-up stuff like H1N1. I mean, my gut tells me this is big.
It could be a trial balloon for medical martial law. I mean, on the border angle, obviously the border control is under the auspices of the DHS. They're too busy raiding people's houses with 6 vehicles full of federal agents for a Land Rover because it may or may not violate EPA emissions rules. Totally ridiculous. TSA's allowing immigrants in without documents, rolling out the red carpet for Muslim Brotherhood. But then you get Obama, as you mentioned, passing this amendment to an executive order from Bush's 2003 executive order, which said that people could be apprehended or detained under the condition of a SARS release. Obama deleted the SARS section and replaced it with this thing that says basically any respiratory syndromes, you can be detained. And then obviously you've got the CDC saying, quote, well persons and people who do not show symptoms can also be detained.
So that's the new talking point, not someone verifiably coming off an airplane from a hot zone who's sweating and has a fever. Sure, lock them up for 4 or 5 days in a safe area to make sure they're not spreading stuff. No, 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 no. So they let the crisis in and then say everyone's guilty. Classic behavior.
And then you've got airports setting up these fever screening cameras. The problem with them is that, as the Daily Mail reported today, they pick up false positives, quote, including people with minor illnesses and those who are hot after a dash through the airport. Now, I was subjected to this back in 2009 when I flew to China. Basically, these guys in biosuits came on the plane before you could even get off and did all these temperature screenings. If we're going to get false positives, people with minor illnesses, and Obama's passed this executive order saying anybody with any respiratory illness can be detained, then it opens the door for medical martial law.
Well, I'll tell you why China's like that. The genome is, and I've read the reports from Harvard on this medical center, the genome is so close in China that pandemics can spread even faster there. The same reason Native Americans got wiped out by stuff. They're not diverse. Nothing against them. I'm just stating scientific fact here. And they're also malnutrition in a lot of areas. They're really worried. And I'm not usually pushing a medical tyranny, but at least they're looking for stuff during pandemics. During a pandemic of Ebola, our border is wide open. I mean, again, what's behind that? How do the politicians think they'll get away with it?
Because government's just becoming more and more corrupt, and they think that the more outlandish they push it, the more they can get away with it. As you said, Homeland Security was created to fight terrorism after 2001. Now they're going after people with 25-year-old Land Rovers in 6 vehicle raids with DHS agents. That's what the Homeland Security is doing now, instead of concentrating on the real problem, which is on the border.
And by the way, we were told Homeland Security was for Al-Qaeda. And then Al-Qaeda took over Syria. That was over 60% of the force. Now they changed their name to IS or ISIS, Islamic State. And our own government gave them Stinger missiles, 15,000 of them, or at least that number. I mean, it just shows how it's all a fraud. We're told Homeland Security's for the Tea Party, veterans and gun owners. And then meanwhile, I see articles. We had one earlier this week on Infowars.com. I saw another a few weeks ago on DrudgeReport.com. I see it all the time where, oh, file swappers, even sharing one file, gets SWAT teamed by DHS. So we have Mexican mafia, we have Chinese triads pouring across the southern border, Al-Qaeda-affiliated Muslim Brotherhood people on record, 135,000 illegals in one Tucson sector in a 2-month period, 36,000 felons being released out of federal custody who are illegals, above the law, and DHS is raiding people in Dallas, Texas, and Chicago, Illinois, because they swapped a movie.
It's amazing. I mean, you've also got the other angle, which is there was a source within Los Angeles County Department of Health Services who came to us. Basically, he said that his supervisor gave the whole staff a lecture, and that starting later this month, they're going to be forcibly removing people from downtown LA, Skid Row, and bringing them to camps where they're going to be vaccinated. Now, this seemed like a sober individual. He gave us his full name and everything. So they're talking about, and they have got these programs for putting people in, quote, housing facilities.
They already do it in Sacramento.
Yeah, and all these laws against homeless people, against feeding homeless people in other areas of the country.
Sounds reasonable, but it sets the precedent for everybody else.
Exactly, because I mean,
again, I'm not saying it's good to not feed homeless. I'm saying you can't have 50 homeless sleeping outside somebody's apartment building. They're landowners; they have a right. I mean, it's okay to direct them someplace, but you don't then send them to a FEMA camp.
Exactly. They're being given a choice. Either they go to this, quote, shelter, or they go to jail. And now they're talking about giving them forced vaccines and RFID chips. So it's frightening stuff, whether it's linked to this Ebola outbreak.
The point is, what do they think? Lock up the homeless, but don't lock up the illegals? Again, Paul, why are the illegals above the law on every front? I don't even dislike these illegals. I know why they're above the law. They want to draw them up here with an incentive.
Exactly, to create the voting bloc, which destroys constitutional rights because they vote for candidates that are for gun control and all these other horrible things. So that's why they're bringing them in. Also, the Model State Emergency Health Powers Act, you know, this was adopted by 33 states in part or in whole. Under a medical public emergency, they can seize all communications, ration firearms and food. They can seize both public and private property. So again, this
I forgot about those executive orders. Under Obama medical emergency, guns would be confiscated. Do an article on that, Paul. And other listeners, you do it too. Go look it up. It's in there to take guns, to have forced labor, work brigades. Look at the old executive orders. They've been upgraded into new executive orders. Because they always go, oh, well, that's an executive order from the 70s or 80s or 90s. No. Just like Obama just updated Bush's to make it worse, it's all been updated by Obama in omnibus signings he's done to take your guns of Ebola. Let's say you live in California, or you live in Texas, or you live in Washington State, or you live in Illinois. Ebola breaks out, Obama can order your guns turned in nationwide. That's why I think they're letting all the disease in, Paul.
Well, once you get this martial law in place, you can target people who are not even affected by the so-called emergency. We saw it in Katrina, where people who were completely unaffected in the high and dry areas got their guns seized. Similar with this, as I just mentioned with the CDC, well persons, people who don't show symptoms, can be detained. Then you've got model states, which says that they can give forced vaccinations. The Heritage Foundation broke that down, and that was in another article. Feds would exercise draconian emergency powers if Ebola hits U.S. So,
Paul, I just got to say something. I mean, in the midst of all this crisis, it's so good to have the great crew here working on the weekend to bring folks this broadcast, to have all these great affiliates carrying the show, to have all these great sources in the federal government that feed us intel, and to be talking to somebody like you internationally who understands geopolitics and every facet of news. It is just such a pleasure to talk to someone who gets it like you. My God, if we had 1 million Paul Watsons, we would change the world. And you know what? There are 1 million Paul Watsons out there of every race, color, and creed. Let's come together, expose the tyranny, and lead humanity out of this globalist mismanagement and fraud. Second hour coming up. Tell your friends and family to tune in right now to this station. Second hour is coming up. Aging starts at the cellular level. When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries. During that period, key patented compounds have focused on mitochondrial growth, nerve growth, and rejuvenation. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. We now have the synergistic solution, DNA Force, just one of the key compounds. BioPQQ is backed by major clinical studies and over 175 PubMed-listed published studies. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.
City of Austin tap water versus filtered City of Austin tap water.
I can taste dirt in it.
God knows what's in this.
These people just sampled City of Austin tap water straight from the faucet. Next, we had them try a sample of tap water filtered with the ProPure G2.0 filtration system.
That one is better.
Tastes like nothing.
Yep, I know what good water tastes like. It's good water.
Most tap water contains added substances like fluoride, chlorine, glyphosate, and many others. Studies prove that these substances are linked to an assortment of major health issues, including tooth decay, lowered IQ, and even cancer.
It tastes like you're drinking out of the lake when you're drinking tap water.
The ProPure G2.0 filtration system removes these deadly substances, leaving only fresh-tasting, deliciously clean water.
Okay, this is very tasty.
It's good water. Refreshing.
It's good.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com today. Use promo code WATER and save 10% off your ProPure purchase. Or call 1-888-253-3139.